think there is actually a good chance of a deal being struck this time?
Short answer, yes. Longer answer, I have to then put some content and context into it.
Well, the context at the moment is that Trump said in front of the Israeli Prime Minister that there would be talks, that he sent a letter to your supreme leader, that he only wants to make sure that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon, cannot weaponize any of its enriched uranium. Then Witkoff went to meet in Oman, and the whole thing seems to have taken a U-turn. His latest is that they have to dismantle it all. This is what your foreign minister said about that, Mr. Arakchi, who will be the main Iranian negotiator.
Different and contradictory statements from U.S. officials are unhelpful. Real positions become clear at the negotiating table. If the U.S. brings constructive positions, we hope talks on a potential agreement framework can begin.
Break that down for us.
Well, it's kind of déjà vu and déjà connu. It's, for Arakchi and his team, they have seen this for the last 2 decades. Every time there is an attempt to negotiate with the West, you may remember this. It started with Troika. You were covering this everywhere, including in Geneva, when there was a climax. Everything goes forward, but at some point, then somebody on the Western side, it's usually the Americans, somebody in the US administration says they have to just dismantle the whole thing, even though it is known that this is just not going to happen.
So after a long time, there was a deal, the JCPOA. It took about 2 years to negotiate, but it seemed to be working. Iran was deemed by the IAEA to be maintaining its side of the bargain. You were hoping to get more sanctions relief and all the rest. Then Trump, when he became president, pulled the US out of it, essentially saying that he could get a better deal, he needed a better deal. And since then, Iran has zoomed to extra enrichment to about 60%, which is very close to how, if you wish to make a bomb, you could just turn that key. Why do you think Trump and Iran today are in a position to strike a deal?
Well, on the one hand, at least the way the US is presenting it, is that they consider this to be now probably close to an imminent threat. And an imminent threat, then perhaps it follows that certain considerations have to be made on the military side, and at the same time, probably in parallel to that, a diplomatic initiative. I'm not saying that this is justified, but I'm just saying this is the way things happen.
So what you're saying is that Trump has sent an aircraft carrier, pre-positioned B-52 bombers, Israel is talking tough, but they really also want to, well, at least the US wants to do a deal.
Sure, the threat is real. I mean, it used to be, previous administrations, including during Obama period, they were talking about an option. They always said that there is always a military option available on the table. This is a real threat this time. It's not just an option. All this preparation that has been made.
So just let me be clear. Iran is feeling the heat, that this is an active military threat that could actually be implemented, whether or not it's by the United States or whether they empower, allow, watch Israel do it.
Well, it's probably another difference between now and 2012 to 15, when JCPOA was forming and putting into implementation, is that it is evident that Israel has a more of a role, and that, of course, makes it a lot more difficult because Israel's position would be, beyond even maximalist. And probably that's part of the reason that these sort of dynamics are happening in Washington, where Witkoff goes to Muscat, promises something, and then he comes back. He openly, says it to the media, and then at Situation Room, everybody gets together, and they would probably have to step back a little bit.
We understand that there's a divided view within the Trump administration. Some believe, including J.D. Vance, that there should be diplomacy. Others believe that it needs to be a much harder line, maybe even take out Iran's nuclear facilities, including people like Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. What is it that brought the Iranian Ayatollah Khamenei to agree to these talks, having been very clear at the beginning, we can't trust the Americans, see what they did last time, etc.?
I'm not a military expert, but let me start with that. Let's say they sit in the Situation Room. they consider what happened in Muscat. The next meeting in Muscat is coming up, and they need to prepare for that. Because whatever happens there will also be analyzed in Tehran. Let's say President Trump wants to know, for instance, how far the military option can go. And he will probably ask Secretary Hegseth or the operation chief, Mr. Feinberg, okay, what are our options? I don't think it's sufficient to just target the known targets like Natanz or elsewhere. At the end of the day, what is the core for making a nuclear bomb? It's the material. It's about 270 kilogram plus of 60% enriched uranium. Then if he asks, Mr. Feinberg, can your generals give me with sufficient confidence that you can target that, you can destroy it, regardless of whatever, radiation and other problems that it can cause. You can either snatch it back or destroy it so that, whatever Iran has been able to create so much, so far, during all these years, in order to have the material that we consider can be converted to a bomb, can we take it out? And I don't think any general can say with a sufficient level of confidence, yes.